Sammy and the new one here. Sammy is showing his for now still. Just a YouTube actor or bad actor. When did that start anyway? When did, when you watch the current events or the news, what updates and current events from the north, east, west, and south, the news, when you watch that, no, hold on. Let me turn the comments on before I forget. There we go. Okay. Whoop. Where I want to be in there. Okay. Sorry about that. Again, that's kind of how we roll. Sam! Easy. He's really enjoying his bone, I guess. I'm not right next to him. He's just that way. I apologize. I sure did name him right. He sure is mighty. Anyways. So, looking at the news and the current events, I saw a few things that we might want to catch up on. But yeah, when did they start calling people bad actors in the news and stuff? That's been the last couple of years when I put up documents and did a few live videos on the other channel. Is kind of when that started, 2019-ish. It's kind of weird to me. I don't know. Nobody else seems to mention it or think it's strange. I think it's strange. I seem to be in Backwardsville. I went through the looking glass at some point. All these backwards things that keep happening to me. Even that little girl next door that came over that one time, I told you guys about it, and wrote her name. I gave her some crayons or whatever we were drawing. And she wrote her name inside out and backwards, perfectly. What is going on in my life, in this world? This probably would have been better as a podcast, my channel, but I hope you guys can listen while you go about your day or whatever. I'm a little late, but if you're in your work day, hopefully you're able to just kind of set it by you and just kind of take a listen. So there's some strange things going on, and when I refreshed, of course, the things that were up kind of disappeared to what is trending. So I'm going to go ahead and pull up what I was looking at. Oops. My bad. And I like to ramble before people get here. I like to kind of just wait for people to show up a little bit and catch people up, welcome new people, let you kind of know what's going on here. This is a testimonial channel. I do talk about my own situation, not in the hopes of accolades or anything like that, but in sharing, maybe we can recognize that we are not alone. Yes, we are individuals. That's very important. I think a lot of people are forgetting that. We're not just some primordial goop. We are individuals with uniqueness and singularity to ourselves, our own selves. But we are also part of a bigger community. And I feel like if we share information and experiences, we can recognize our commonalities and maybe work in harmony. Harmony doesn't mean to be the same. Think of the eternity symbol, the figure 8. Harmony does not mean to be the same or to take the same path, but to not create chaos or not to create too much friction for the one who is parallel to you. That is kind of what harmony is. So, the weird thing that happened to me recently, let's talk about testimony a little bit. Most of you are from the older channel, so you followed me for a while now. You know why I do this. Is also to expose evil. I try not to expose people. I don't mention names per se, unless something is really radical or I feel like maybe something's out there that's harmful to people. Not that I'm any judge, but each unique perspective that does share, we can help each other along through times like this, when we kind of can't explain what's happening around us. And it looks like chaos to us, but is it really chaos, or is God working? And we just don't understand what it all means yet, So that's kind of it in a nutshell. But the strange thing, so the spouse was allegedly missing Axel. And really wanted another dog, so I had been looking, and I found this Chiweenie. It's a miniature wiener dog slash chihuahua, and I really don't care for chihuahuas. I'm an animal person. I love all animals, but I kind of have a thing with cats and like chihuahuas and like poodles. Like there's just something, their attitude is like real finicky, right? And they're real abrasive and hard to get along with. But we had this picture, and I'm like, look, that dog is probably so tiny. And it's funny because he's a bigger person, and when he carries around this teeny little dog, it kind of looks funny. And I've got like this bigger pit bull, and I'm like 5 foot. So contrast, right? Wow, opposites attract and all that. Um, but I'm talking to the owner for several days, and finally we set up a meeting time in place and whatnot. And so we meet the person, and we're going to talk about symbols a little bit. No, I'm not into divination per se, but I do believe we've misinterpreted the New Testament and Old Testament. Some of you know my feelings on that. I'm still educating myself. I'm still learning. And we're not all going to agree 100% of the time, and we shouldn't. We shouldn't have to. More people need to be saying that, and we need to all be asking questions at this time. So we go to pick up this dog, and the gal's truck, they have a goat farm, pygmy goats, and there's a goat on the side of the truck. So that's cool, whatever. And I say, hey, you can't always go by symbols because my astrological sign is a goat, mermaid type thing, and we all know what that means. So, you know, sometimes we do go the opposite of our like bloodline, family tradition, family line, and that can cost us at times. But anyway, we go to pick up this dog, and she's super teeny, like super teeny, and she tries to tell us it's 5 months old. I'm like, whatever, I hope it grows, because I don't know. Grace is not my middle name. I was a figure skater and a gymnast. If you give me a balance beam, I could do things on that, but regular everyday life, I'm kind of clumsy, and I did not want to be responsible for this teeny little life. And she's so small. She's like just so small. But anyway, her name is Daisy. Most of you know my testimony, so no shame here at this point. In another life, for a short time, I danced. No, I did not get naked. That was against the law here, and I would not have done that anyways. You know, we all have lines we draw. And this was obviously when I was away from God, away from the church. And by that I mean, you know, the body of people who believe in spirit and the Holy Spirit and still know that like God is real and all that. Don't hold it against me. I won't hold your beliefs against you. All are welcome here. I will repeat that every video if I need to. Daisy was my dance name, and it was also my great-grandma's name, whom I actually wasn't related to by blood. Again, I have a weird story. It should have been a book or a movie, but yeah, I'm just a nobody, like most of us here, like the majority of people. And I don't mean that in, you know, the literal sense. I mean, according to the system, we are just small worker bees, small peasants, small people. And so obviously I'm like being messed with from here to eternity from every person that I deal with and interact with. Like there's always this thing, this synchronicity, or this thing that says, aha, we're watching you. And so now I'm funny with this dog. Like I like her and I take care of her and I cuddle her. But she's not like my buddy or anything. And it's funny because most of you know I have this prayer closet, and I had like blessed it and done all these things and told a loved one at one time, like they went to step in here, and I said, no, I didn't say you could come in here. And like immediately, it's almost like an invisible wall pushed them back, and they don't go in anymore unless they ask. And that's very, very rare. But I told this dog when it came in my room, I said, you're not allowed in there. I don't consent, and I did not invite you into my prayer closet. And the dog like turned around and left. Like, so I don't know, man. This is also weird to me, and I know how this sounds, you know. That's also why I do this too, documentation purposes. From my testimony, you should know at some point in time, it's pretty obvious somebody wants to or will set me up at some point in time if God allows that to happen. And I don't know if they're waiting for this big moment, this big aha. You know, my adversary is my personal enemies, to like say, we got you. Like, I was already told back in like 2018 what was going to happen. So it's really not going to be a surprise to me. And I still say rosary upon rosary, whether you believe in that or not. That's hour upon hour for my loved ones who and neighbors who are being used against me. And why are some of us fighting such this big struggle, right? Like, why is it so difficult? I don't know. I can't answer that. So let's get started. Disclaimer, I'm not a doctor. I'm not a legal expert. This is not in any way, shape, or form medical nor legal advice. All information shared is being shared per the Fair Use Act of 1976 for the purposes of education and or criticism and or entertainment. Now that that's out of the way, let's look at a few things. Samson, Sammy, he's such a good boy, but he is like his mother. He's clumsy and loud, and we're working on that. We're asking God for grace. Let me get us up here. Okay, so I was looking at a few things and just to look at current events, and so this come up. And I want to take a check into it, take a look at it, because that was part of my testimony too. I warned you guys that the Holy Spirit warned me back in 2017, 2018, not to have anyone on my power of attorney. Again, I'm not a legal expert. I'm talking about myself, my choices, my own testimony. Okay? This is just what I did. I'm not telling you what to do. But the Holy Spirit told me to take anyone that was on my power of attorney off, and anyone that I gave when you're at the doctor and you sign these HIPAA forms and you think they're nothing and you want to just throw them away. You also have emergency report forms and who can make choices for you. And you also have a thing that says whether or not you want, quote unquote, like extensive measures taken. And some people do and some people don't. That would be like connecting you to life-saving devices. Again, I'm not an expert. This is from research that I have done and we have done together and my personal life experience, because I have experience in the healthcare industry and experience caring for my father. And the Holy Spirit warned me to like remove everybody from that. And so I did without telling anyone. I didn't even say anything about it. I just did it. And I knew my Social Security hearing was coming up. And again, the Holy Spirit was like, this dude's not acting right. And someone on Facebook had said, hey, if you're still having problems, you should consider having a payee on your SSI. Well, once you have a payee, that person is in charge of all your money. And they give you like a stipend and allowance out of it. So again, your sovereignty, your free will, spiritually speaking, you would be bound to that person, right? This is why I don't vote and all that. And I'll do a separate video on that for new people regarding spiritual warfare and sovereignty. Does sovereignty cover all? No, because of natural law. If you choose to go against or transgress against natural law, i.e. sin against nature, the nature of a thing, a person, a being, then your sovereignty is kind of forfeit at that point. God, the one who puts this natural order into effect, will then allow certain things will then happen to you, cause and effect, right? So the Holy Spirit told me to do these things, and I did these things, and it caused a lot of havoc, and I endured a lot of abuse at this point in time between 2018 and 2019, physical and otherwise. Trash thrown on me, cigarette burns, like just the whole gamut. I never thought this would be my life. I was raised Catholic. I was kind of preppy. I didn't fit in. But then I realized, well, why don't I just go be a black sheep, a goth type person? And I fell in with the wrong people. And this is why you should stay with people you're equally yoked to as well. My testimony is definitely a cautionary tale. Sam. Again, I'm not an actress, but if you want me to get noise canceling headphones, let me know of a pair or a brand that works well and that the mic, doesn't go in and out like. Okay, So I saw this, I noticed this death act, and there's a lot of talk about euthanasia and what I consider to be genocide and the abortion debate. Now, the channels that say you can't discuss these things, you absolutely can. The bigger channels that back, like Matt Walsh and Brett Cooper and Candace Owen, they are all backed by Livewire. They talk about any darn thing they want to that is current. So these favoritisms, these rules, different rules for different people. Once you call the system on these things, once you know your sovereignty and what goes along with that, I'm not saying things will be easy for you, but you definitely things will be easier for your conscience. Okay. So what is the Death Act? Well, redefining death, and we've gone over this, like how bizarre it is that death, the word itself, isn't even in the vernacular, dated until the 1800s. And then you have all this weird timeline stuff that occurred or did not occur, something that was covered up between 1800 and probably between 1850 and 1950. We'll go there. Because you see all these pictures too of the 1950s with the milkmen and the women, they're so happy and their hair's all done up and their makeup's all done up. Like, what woman that has kids and a husband, no matter what generation it's from, has time for all of that? Like, we don't have that kind of time. You can make time sometimes, but then, like, your laundry is suffering. This is why you see all these hot women in their selfies, but they've got hot messes behind them. Their laundry is overflowing, or their houses are suffering, or their relationships are suffering. Like, we can't have it all, and we're not supposed to have, quote unquote, it all as far as material things go. But death wasn't even in the public vernacular until the 1800s. So we know that something happened, timeline speaking, just by looking back and noticing all the similarities between that time and this time. And I'll also say it does seem like something has woken up. So we've got a lot happening. And I think there's all this information flowing to cover the truth. Okay. But remember, if you're covering truth, the truth stands alone. It's not going to stay covered. Now, how long it takes to get uncovered and all that, your guess is as good as mine. So, summary, a new survey reveals that 83% of 41 influential organizations support revisions to the U.S. Uniform Determination of Death Act. Now, what does this mean, determination of death? I believe, medically speaking, and again, this is not medical advice. I'm not an expert. I'm just someone who's good with words. So we're just going to break this down, what it says here, determination of death. Determination means that there's some question about the definition of death itself. That's disconcerting to see. I mean, I don't know if it is for you, but if the science community is admitting this, that like they don't, quote unquote, they don't know when death occurs. They also don't know when birth occurs, like the soul is conceived, right? And I've told you, I don't know if they want me to believe this or if it is the truth, but I have been shown images, not told outright, but shown certain things, and I believe they want me to know these things, to torment me, to show that there's been like a musical chair of souls and that souls have gone into different bodies. And I'm wondering if this has to do with like the secret Babylonian mystery school beliefs. If this is what they're doing, and if this is why Buddhism and Hinduism is so big, because those bowls that you chant into, those are big right now, and they are big in what's happening. And I told you the Stephen Greer meditation thing, all these things go together. Anyway, that bowl would be said to hold a soul. And as the soul is being held in there, you can have it go into another body. Now, this is lore. It's also in the 1980s movie, The Golden Child with Eddie Murphy. Again, that's how I try to relate information to people, is through pop culture, because my words are so different than everybody else's, and not everybody understands the way I speak. But if you do get what I'm saying, please do give the video itself a thumbs up. It's not really going to help the channel. The channel won't be monetized, but it does let me know if I'm conveying information and communicating effectively with y'all. The comment section probably is not working. I probably turned it on too early, but if I click it now, it'll probably end the video. That's how they roll with me. So we're just going to leave it alone. if you have something to say or a question to add, please do save it until the end of the video when it's posted, and we can have an interaction about all of these things. Because again, this is kind of alarming that the science community wants you to follow it like a religion, follow the science, follow the science. And then the science points you in two different directions, much like most things today are polarized. But it also is kind of admitting here, like, we don't know. The act of finding death as either the irreversible cessation of brain or cardiopulmonary function is now under scrutiny, as it should be. Come on now. The study, and again, we've talked about this, all of the people, and we're going to do another video, deep dive on this, all the people buried alive, right? All the people who allegedly died of the plague, but like, in the one story, the husband could still hear them in their graves, and so him and like the Protestant men of the neighborhood of the village would go and dig up their relatives who had died of the plague, and they would find them still alive, and so they would pierce them to the coffin with these wooden spikes. But then in the same breath, in that same era, you had bells attached to the coffins, right, to let people know. And I'm going over this stuff because, yes, it is Halloween. You need to know what's going on around you. I do believe this is tribulation. It does not look like we thought it would. People are not just being lined up or marched out. It's one by one by one. There's a deceiver in every household. There's probably one saved person in every 10 households, maybe. And the households that have no saved people are probably like undecided, not awake yet, or I don't know. Again, I don't have all the answers, but this is what I'm putting together, seeing all of the current events kind of flow together. So let's continue. But yeah, they had bells on coffins for when the plague happened. That way, in case people were buried alive, because they were so scared, people allegedly, bodies were just thrown into pits and then buried. Why would you, like, that doesn't even make sense. But anyways, they would put these little bells on the coffins. If they were buried alive, they could ring the bell. And so, like, why are you doing things like this? Why are there so many people buried alive? Why are so many people being dug up? Why are there so many stories of, like, these serial killers who are digging people up? There's a deception happening regarding death, like a really big one. And that is another reason that the system comes so hard at me and people like me, is because we see some things wrong. We don't quite know exactly what it is, but we do see it. And I know you feel me on this because we've talked about it ad nauseum. So the study emphasizes the need to align the legal description of death, again, I'm not a legal expert, with current medical standards. So they're saying these people, basically, these two communities need to get on the same page. Omitting the requirement means to get rid of. Omitting the requirement of hormone function loss for a brain death declaration. And this is kind of big too, because there's a lot of talk about like people in coma, basically in stasis, and talk of impregnating them. Like, I don't even want to know, man. Just all of the things that we are told about and all of the thoughts and ideas that are expressed through art. We definitely have a darkness that kind of needs rooted out. Lay down. Lay down. Now you're just being ridiculous. You had a bone. Yeah, lay down now. Sammy says hello. Say hello, Sammy. Lay down. Oh, gross. Quit licking me. Lay down. Don't be gross. Lay down. Come on. He's fussy because the puppy's a little girl and he's never been around a little girl, and they're friends. But every now and again, you know, I gotta watch them. I don't leave them alone. So omitting means getting rid of the requirement of hormone function loss for a brain death declaration. Basically, they want to remove that from the standard, meaning hormone function loss, which is kind of weird. There's a lot of talk about that, about hormones and magnets and in weird ways, right? And I've told you this, they convey the truth, but it's often backwards or pieces that it, like, in the entirely wrong context. You know, words are important, but once you have a word or a symbol, you need to know the context in which it's being used. And we're going to look at ravens, especially because it's the month of October. I've started to work with pastels and a raven that I'm doing. Wish me, pray that I'm able to relax with my creativity and be kind of an artist again. If you would, I could use some prayers at this time. I've been waking up again around 3 in the morning for a while now. I know what that means. I don't talk about it a lot. But so I could use some prayers for good things to happen in my life and good blessings. Lay down, Sam. And I pray for you guys every day too. Okay, so the study also uncovers the division between medical organizations and patient advocacy groups on discontinuing medical ventilation post-declaration. Now remember, when this all started, there was a lot of talk about ventilators. And again, I think that was a key, like a red flag, but it was being used in the wrong sense of the word. Sam, lay down and leave her alone. Go lay down. You're being naughty. Yes, you are. Go lay down. Come on. Lay down. So, key facts. Historically, death was determined when the heart stopped and one couldn't breathe autonomously, meaning without the aid of a machine. But technological advancements, meaning machines were created, and mechanical ventilation altered this perception, leading to the 1981 U.S. Uniform Determination of Death Act. And I'd never heard of this. This is when I was very young. So it's no wonder that I've never heard of it. And I wonder if any of you have heard of it either. Isn't it weird? You don't know what you don't know, so you don't know what to look for, to research for. The information is out there. The truth is out there, as Mulder says. But we have to seek it, and we have to search for it. So the act lacks clarity on specific medical tests to determine death, and some states even allow families to object to medical ventilation removal on religious grounds. Now, here's the thing, too. And they're acting like that's a bad thing, like to remove it. Now, they're concerned with resources. This is all business to these people, okay? It's all about business and the dollar. But underneath of that, it's about the soul, and it's about the spiritual battle that we face, and the fact that we are no longer treating life with the sanctity that it deserves, and that includes me. Like I say, we. So I'm not judging, I'm not preaching, I'm not condemning. I'm just kind of laying it out there that this is why this is happening. Our moral compasses have begun to err. Here's Sammy. I'm sorry, he's like snorting and everything else there. No, he should be good. I apologize. And this is weird too, because I told you guys that the medical industry itself is a teaching industry. What does that mean? Well, they're constantly evolving and learning, just like science. But that also means that, they can make mistakes and have to backtrack. They err. They are, it is a group of people. And we need to remember this. This is why we need to remember communities and families are built upon individuals. And if you have a well-balanced individual, you have a well-balanced community, and that is only a commodity to families and communities. So this is the problem with medical forms and jargons. Much like technology, it changes daily. Science, medical, the science industry or religion, the medical industry, business, and technocracy society that we have today, these things change daily, like snapping your fingers, minute by minute by minute. This is why the medical industry is so fast-paced. Even when you're not hustling, you're hustling, right? So let's go down here and see what this actually means. After surveying the views expressed, a brain injury expert is calling for much-needed reforms to the legal definition of death. How bizarre. Now they're going to change the definition of death. So they've already tried to change the definition of life so that murder does not look like murder anymore. In the end, and I've been saying this since 2019, in the end, this is about removal of a lot of people. I think, why at one time like this? I think there's a few different things going on. All you have to do is look at the sky and know that you have all of these big events taking place in the stars that haven't taken place in a lot of years, and as above, so below is true. It might be an occult phrasing, but it's in the Our Father as well. It's just said differently. We copy what's up there. And this is why we have judges, and this is why we have courts and councils and legal systems. It's all based upon a hierarchy, which we get the idea from what is above. How these concepts came into being, we inherently somewhere in our collective brain, we knew this information, right? And so it gets expressed by greater people than myself. And this is how our society is born and formed. The goal is to tear that apart, to bring that down, to only have people who are yes men, who are conformists. But more than that, underneath of that, the goal is to, it looks like, capture souls before they can be properly refined and or saved and or, whatever words you want to look for there. They can have their frequencies properly raised. I don't know. Spiritually speaking, I do think we should personally be more evolved than we are now. So they're going to change the definition of death. This is important. This is key because this changes everything in regards to war crimes, what constitutes a war crime. If you're no longer actually killing people, is it a crime? They're already dead, right? You're not killing them. They're already dead. This test says that they are. Well, what if they're sitting there talking to you? This is why I shared the work experience, because I already know that people trust a machine more than us. So if a machine tells a doctor that I'm dead, but I'm obviously not, and I'm sitting here, what does this mean? And it can get that bad. You can see it reflected, the confusion and the chaos in the spirit realm, in people's spirits, is oozing out into the physical. Okay, so now something coming up. Oh, let's go right there and look at it. How to see the Hunter's Moon lunar eclipse coming this weekend. And then on the 31st, I'm going to try and do this in order, is also a blood moon. So, this is all really kind of, I don't want to say coincidental. I don't really believe in coincidence anymore. Raise your hand if you do, because I do not. How to see the Hunter's Moon lunar eclipse coming this weekend. So let's just give a brief, what is it? This month has given us some truly breathtaking sky displays with the meteor showers and all. So yes, on October 28th, the moon will put on a spectacular show in the form of a partial lunar eclipse, known as the Hunter's Moon, in the northern hemisphere. So this will affect America. Folklore holds that the bright end to the October lunar cycle once would have provided the perfect evening light to track summer fattened game before winter. Now it tells you where this will be seen. This month, that famous light will dim as the moon passes through the Earth's shadow, with the resulting eclipse visible across much of the eastern hemisphere. Okay, so maybe I was wrong. This includes Europe, Africa, Asia, Antarctica, and I don't want to know what Oceania is. Okay, whatever. Mandela? I don't know. What is Oceania? Somebody want to tell me? I can't. So is that like a name for multiple oceans? Is that what they say? Is it a typo? Should that say oceans? That's bizarre. Anyway, some of North and South America will be able to see it as well. Okay, so now let's look at, what is the Hunter's Moon? What does this mean for people? Hunter's Moon and alternative names, because we know names are important. We want to know what kind of spiritual significance this has and how our ancestors viewed this, so that we can have proper context. Context is key with ancient writings, with who says what, when it was said, how it was said, what their culture is, what their religion is, yada, yada, yada. Excuse me. But October's Hunter's Moon has many more associations than ghosts and goblins on one day of the month. Why is the October full moon the Hunter's Moon? The name is from the 1700s, is easy to understand, as game animals, particularly deer, turkey, and pheasants, are traditionally ended in mid to late autumn. We know this. It's the end of deer season, for anyone who doesn't know. I don't hunt or anything. I just know that. More hunting related names. Hunting moon. Sanguine moon. The October full moon was called the blood moon. And we know that's coming as well. Now, are they calling it the same thing? Okay, let's look it up. The weird blood moon eclipse happening this Halloween. And this is from Forbes. When is the lunar eclipse? You can bet that a lunar eclipse will follow 2 weeks before or after a solar eclipse, which is fair, fair and balanced. If you have it happen on one side, you'll have it happen on the other, up and down. Much like Old Testament and New Testament, you have a lot in the Old Testament that says no, 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 and a lot in the New Testament that Christ is doing, right? We're told not to mess with necromancy. Christ raises people from the dead. Now, it's different because he is divine. But at the same time, people look at that and they say, well, he's going against Old Testament law. Yes, but that law was put in place because of our lack of understanding, spiritually speaking. It was meant to be, what's the word I'm looking for? Fleshly, right? It's all about the flesh and about the carnality. And the New Testament is all spirituality. So you see a sense of balance here. So that's exactly what's going to happen on Saturday, October 28th, when a slight partial lunar eclipse. Okay. Is this a true blood moon? It is not, but since October's full moon, the hunter's moon is also known as a blood moon, there is some confusion. Here's everything you need to know. How weird. Just as a solar eclipse can only occur during a new moon, a lunar eclipse can only occur at a full moon. That's what happens on Saturday's full moon, or hunter's moon. That's colloquially called a blood moon. So is it the same thing? However, that's not really what's happening here. In fact, the next total lunar eclipse isn't until March 2025. The hunter's moon, sometimes known spookily as the blood moon, is the full moon, which tends to appear in October in the northern hemisphere. Okay, we know pretty much why it's got its name. Now let's look at something else. Since it is October, after all, let's look at the lore that's associated with the blood moon. And again, Vikings, the Norse mythology, the Vikings believed that blood moons were caused by the wolf gods, Skil and Haiti, eating the moon. And spiritually speaking, that makes sense. Much like Native American Indians, they would often say the same thing. Something was being consumed in the sky, much like you see the woman in the sky giving birth. And that is also a reference to Mary. You see these parallels play out and they ripple out from the stars down to the earth, into the physical and the carnal. They kind of start, it goes top down, I guess. What is the mythology behind the blood moon? Ancient Incas interpreted the blood moons as a jaguar attacking and devouring the moon. See, so they all see it as something devouring the moon. That's interesting. My family animal is the wolf. I've told you this story. Wolf, my last name actually means wolf man or beast. Oh, again, the coincidences never stop. I hope I'm not beastly. What does a blood moon mean spiritually? The appearance of a blood moon has had a spiritual meaning throughout history. The ancient Incans and Mesopotamians believed the blood moon was an omen portending death and overthrow of the king. Some Native American tribes believed that a blood moon meant that the moon needed care. Harbinger of the apocalypse. Now, we've had a lot of blood moons since 2017. And I don't remember that happening a lot before that. But comment if you do. I wasn't really into, I love looking at the stars. I didn't know much about them back then, but it is good to educate yourself, not to know that things are kind of cyclical, and not to like portend doom or anything like that, but maybe to operate more in harmony with our natural environment that is around us, not with the simulated matrixy like system per se. Blood moon is also a term when 4 lunar eclipses reach totality in a row. The next blood moon occurs during this was written in 2021. This will tell you how it will affect your body. Now it says there is absolutely no proof. I would disagree with that. We used to know these things. Why can't you eat during a blood moon? Never heard that. Some more modern institutions say that food is exposed to excess UV and cosmic rays. However, the UV and other light particles breaching the Earth's atmosphere won't be any different. Now, that's different. I've never heard of that, but that's kind of telling you perhaps you should fast during a blood moon. I'm not agreeing or disagreeing or offering advice, but I think that's very interesting indeed. Now, I want to know harvest moon. Let's look into harvest moon because that's an older term, right? Lore, mythology, pagan history. Oh, that is all messed up. I apologize. I'm on a cell phone and I got chubby finger ends, I guess. Myths and meanings of the harvest moon. What is the folklore? The harvest moon is named for its deep connection to agricultural cycles that sustain humanity, which harvest, we know this, but harvest can have another meaning spiritually speaking regarding the soul. So let's just keep looking, and just so we're aware of these things and they're not superstition anymore. It's just knowledge to either add to your storehouse or to discard if you don't think you need it. Excuse me. What is the harvest moon in the occult? The September full moon is known as the harvest moon. Singing moon or wine moon is a time of celebration, balance of light and dark, with the autumn equinox and Mabon. As the wheel of the year comes to an end, it is also a good time to give thanks for all the blessings in your life. So we know it symbolizes the coming winter. In Greek mythology, the time of the second sowing, how very different from the ancient societies where this moon indicated the beginning of frost. Because, in ancient Greek, they did not have winter. What is the origin of the harvest moon? Originating in England, and they had a lot of pagan things going on there, where the brilliant moonlight of several consecutive evenings aided the harvesting of the crops. You had more light with which to continue harvesting because the days were shorter. You really wanted to be able to do that, so that's interesting as well. Can you manifest on a harvest moon? That's interesting. Fall folklore and moon stories. Pagans followed the moon. I followed it for as long as I can remember. We plant according to the sun. There are attributes with knowing basic astronomy. Note, I'm not saying astrology, astronomy. The magic of the home, hearth, and hard work. Now, I kind of want to know. Now, Hecate. That's interesting. I was just looking at Hecate the other day, and we might look at her since, again, it is October. But she is a triple-headed or triple-figured goddess. Now, again, yes, this is a bit pagan, but it helps you understand when you see symbols and they're being used. It helps you understand, okay, why is this being used, right? You'll see them around. You'll see ravens. You'll see pictures of blood moons. You will see people sharing these symbols all over the place. You need to know what it is. Just like I told you on social media, everyone was doing the AOK sign, the 666 around their eye. And after that, shortly thereafter, you would see a memorial to some loved one of theirs on that same person's page. These are not coincidences. This is a time of tribulation. It is a dangerous time, but no, I'm not fear-mongering. I'm trying to educate you so that when you see certain things, perhaps you know what people to avoid or what people to befriend, what to be cautious of, where to go, where not to go. If a store has a certain symbol above its door, should you really enter that establishment? These are things that we don't know in our current society, and they're everywhere, right? Symbols are all over the place. But it has a lot to do with intent and the person using them. And this is why context matters. And this is why we're talking about these things. While the fall equinox can be acknowledged with the sun's fiery energy, I prefer to make the transition to fall under the bright light of the harvest moon. It's the time when Hecate, like the natural cycle of the earth, transitions from light to dark. Hail the returning of the dark mother while celebrating the harvest under the light of her harvest moon. And again, we live in a binary society, a society that is polarized. So again, some of these things we can take away from and understand. They're talking about balance here. This is how they explained the changing of the seasons. Note though they don't credit God, right, for placing these things and these times and these seasons in their proper flow and in their proper estates. And we should always thank God for giving us a good harvest, for allowing the light of the moon to let us plant our seeds when maybe it's a short day, or harvest our crops when it's a short day, or to thank God for the sun when it's a long day and we get to work longer, but not the work that we're used to. Again, all of these things have been changed in our modern society. So again, we are just looking at what time it is in the spiritual realm. It is a time for harvest, and this is across all faiths and religion, not just pagan, right? This is also in scripture. It will tell you the dreams of Joseph that he had about storing up or supplying a storehouse that would last for 7 years, because tribulation is said to last for 7 years at a time. Good times last for, I don't know why the cycle is 7, but that's what he learned from his dreams. So he was prepared, and he prepared his whole community, and he was a wise leader for doing that, for listening to a dream, right? His wisdom came from the fact that he listened to it, knew it was good information, knew it was truth, which meant it was of a godly source, okay? Harvest Moon originates with the Norse mythology. So that's from 2008. We don't want to look at that just because their calendar is different and it will tell you different things. Harvest Moon occurs on Friday the 13th. So we're not finding a lot of scary things, right? We're not finding a lot of things that are wicked. But I want to look at something and I want to show it to you, because I looked at it when I first started this journey. I don't know what angelfire.com is. I just know that a loved one was using that server and using that email provider. And yes, it is an email provider, an angel fire, the angel Uriel. But all angels are said to be made of fire. They are shining, the shining ones. And so I found it interesting that they had their own pagan calendar and all these things happening. And yeah, so let's take a look. Oh, that's not what I wanted, but let's go this way. Community calendar. Greater New York. No thanks. We want a basic calendar for right now. Oh, that's neat. Angel Fire, New Mexico. Oh, yes, and it's also a location. Again, you see these things repeated over and over and over. I just want you to see their calendar, because it will tell you what is called for that day, whether certain rituals are called for, okay? That's why I'm looking for this to try and show it to you. Hold, please. This is how the research with me's go. No. Let's try that. And yeah, I'm looking for a certain one because I want one that's not popular. I want a legitimate picture. Because I want to show you guys how it lays this out. Hold, please. Wow, you're giving me a real hard time with this, aren't you? You're not letting me type. I just got a phone call. Never ends, and I never get phone calls. They're all spam. All right, let's see if this one actually shows you what we're looking for. See, and this one doesn't show you either. And for whatever angelfire.com, like I said, that server is the server they use. And it has like its own calendar. It has its own email provider. It is like its own community. They've built just like the Mormons, right? And you know, in a way, it's a good thing for these groups or whatever. If Christians were more organized like that and pooled their resources and, okay, well, you don't want to do business with us Christians, we don't need you, we're going to do business with each other. You know what I mean? Kind of thing, if we supported each other in that way. And again, a lot of times these will show you, I'm just going to write it. I'm just going to write it. Drexel, huh? I don't want to go to the temple either because they very rarely give you truth there. That's like a, what do they call that? A straw man? The Satanic Temple? Like, that's such a Hollywood version of, like, what it is. Where is it? Coralville. What is that they keep coming up to? St. Con. Oh, and this is from 1983 to 1984. We've actually looked at a little bit of this before. January 1992. This is a government document. So for anyone that says, you know, on Reddit, oh, they're just conspiracies. Like, oh, it's just satanic panic. Really? Because, wow, they really were involved in it and looking into it. Seems though like a lot of people looked into it and decided to run with it themselves. And here you have, yeah, all that stuff that comes up. Anyways, a lot of things on certain, if I can find the calendar, I will share it in a separate video, but a lot of things that happen during these dates are ritualistic in nature. You can look at this if you'd like to. It's very dark, but that's up to you. But let's look at something else. If I can still find it. What was it? Hold, please. Oh, the world's smallest LHC. Now, I was, again, just looking at current testing a time jumping multiverse killing consciousness spawning theory. I don't want to know about that yet. Not yet. It's a little. Hold, please. Do I need to just look it up again? Goobers. Okay. Now, I thought this was kind of creepy. From Live Science. World's smallest particle accelerator is 54 million times smaller than the Large Hadron Collider, and it works. Scientists have created the world's first nanophotonic electron accelerator, which speeds negatively charged particles with many laser pulses and is small enough to fit on a coin. Obviously, its abilities would not be anything like the original. I'm starting to wonder if it's all a fake out because I don't trust these people. They seem to spend their time making corny little ritual type film student films, shorts. And like that's all you find all over their site. They have these little weird rituals and they show you this machine and then they show you pictures of that same machine that have to do with time travel and propelling and all these other things. And it's not the same context as they're showing it with the LHC. And the Mandela idea, they're like, oh, they predicted it, or did they just want you to believe it? That came from CERN as well. Their alleged scientist held up a series of pictures in an interview, and one of them said, Mandela, can you really create something this tiny that you can't even see or manage or work with? How do you operate and create and make something that is this small? I know there are tools, but come on now. There are tools that people make. I don't understand. But it's definitely very weird. What is it capable of? A small microchip that houses an even smaller vacuum tube made up of thousands of individual pillars. So what can it actually do, though? What would you use it for? For context, the inside of the tiny tunnel is only around 225 nanometers wide. So I assume you're using like nanoparticles and nanobots and stuff to like make these things. And nanobots, when people talk about that, it reminds me of, I don't know if you ever watched it. There's one on Stargate, and there is one on Doctor Who episodes about these little replicators that end up, these little cubes that take over universes and eat them up and eat all living organisms because they want to make everything better. And it sees us as like living organisms as like viruses. So yeah, all these things circling around at the same time seem like we just have a powder keg waiting to explode at any moment. And obviously I'm being parabolic or metaphorical when I speak that way, not literal. So where are they housing this? Researchers from Germany, and these Germans their scientists are crazy mad with all this stuff. Like they never quit. The first time a nanophotonic electron accelerator, which was first proposed in 2015, has been successfully fired, so they are using it. I don't even want to know what they're doing. Does the size matter? Like, what are you actually... However, the research believe that they can improve the NEA's design by using alternate materials or stacking multiple tubes next to one another. Black holes could become massive particle accelerators. I don't want to know. I mean, yeah, if you can change the energy into good energy. Okay, so these are all the strange things going on at about the same time. So what's coming next? I'm going to do a video about ravens and symbology that I think will be really cool. And again, we'll talk about context. And this all plays into like managing your sovereignty properly in these dangerous times, because it is a dangerous time. Everyone and their mother is trying to get people's information, and there's just a lot going on. So please be aware. So there's a video coming on ravens, and there are probably 2 more shorter videos coming. One is going to be a story from the Apocrypha that like nobody reads online, and I don't understand why. It has a very good insight in there, and it's not super long, and it's about Daniel. So I'm going to bust that out and read it too, because I don't see anybody ever reading it, and it's a really good story, and it's not long, it's short, and I think you guys will like it. And if you listen to it and you take the time to listen to it, you'll benefit from it. Because it's very funny what happens in that story, and it's not supernatural at all, and Daniel still saves the day, so it's really cool, and it's about a dragon, so I think that's cool too. So those are a couple of the things that are coming. Why ravens? Why magic wands? Why top hats? Because it seems like these same people are always utilizing these same symbols. I want to know why. I want to know what their secret messages are to each other. I don't want to have somebody tell me or invite me into some society. And I want my spiritual growth to continue so that I can be of service to others around me as well. And I consider this a service to you guys. And for anyone that cares, again, there are people out there, hecklers and whatnot. I don't plan on the channel ever being monetized. Even if I had a laptop and I made super edited, super polished videos, I don't think I would do that. Not this type of content Anyways, but I do put a link up for people who want to like donate and help out with Sammy's monthly costs, with internet monthly costs, with device monthly costs. And if I ever, was the type of person who got enough, I would get a mic, I would get a laptop, I would get those things. People make fun of you for using a cell phone. Hey, some of us, that's what we have, right? And that's what we use. I'm not saying I'm like super poor or anything, but I'm just saying I don't have $900 for a laptop either. So if you want to help in that regard, I do accept help. Donations or gifts of love is what I call them. Because this does take time and research, but again, it's not mandatory. It's not like I say, hey, you've got to do this to like keep me going and give you the sub story. No, it's up to you guys. So watch for an upload because I'm going to probably do that today. And there's a couple other things I wanted to cover in here as well, but I'm going to do shorter videos of them for people who missed them. And I'm also going to do a video before we get into the 2024 eclipse. And again, this will be really quick, a few videos here, uploads. I'm also going to do a video of, in a nutshell, my theory of the eclipses of 2017 to 2024, what I think is happening to people. And I'm going to make my own timeline and show it to you guys, put things in chronological order, and just give you the information. And if you are down with it, cool. If you're not, that's cool too. But I'm going to make the notes for that. If it seems like it'll be a longer video, we'll do that live. But the dragon video and that live might be in the evenings just to catch more people. So you guys stay blessed. Have a great day. Please share your thoughts below. It's just strange times we're living in, and sometimes there are a lot of balls in the air that we need to take a look at. So just be aware. I love you guys. Stay blessed.